Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Fire microphone technical problems here, folks. We gotta fix that. Hello, hello. My headset having a problem. Thank you for joining me today for a live broadcast. So many things going on just right after New Year's Eve, hours after New Year's Eve. The world is already on fire, and today in Canada, added to the chaotic situation, we have a pretend prime minister doing a pretend resignation. So he is to resign after proroguing Canadian Parliament until March. So this is crazy. The Liberal Party hijacked the entire government, the entire country of Canada until they sort out their own internal conflicts, their own internal garbage. And they are putting the rest of the country on hold. I guess they think they have a chance to try and muster up some rig, some cheat that they want to do for the next election. Is that what's going on? Justin Trudeau said that he is going to resign as the new leader for the Liberal Party is chosen after their own internal election. Why do we have to wait for the Liberal Party to sort out their mess? Why don't we just have an election right away? But the problem is Trudeau has prorogued the government. Let's talk about this thing, prorogation. What is that good for? Stephen Harper also prorogued the end of his term, just kind of prolonging the end of their term just before they leave office. I don't know what's that all about. So those are some of the things we want to talk about here on the Freedom Fighter Radio. And let me go back to Rumble Studio. Rumble Studio seems to be working well today, and it looks like we are simulcasting on 4 channels, just the way we tested it last week. The test broadcast really turned out to be an important thing to do. So we are on Rumble, we are on BitChute, we are on Odyssey, but we're also on a small channel on YouTube, all simulcasting very, very well right now. So I'm pretty happy about that. And let's get started. We are also going to cover some of the conversation that's going on with the Tesla, what do you call that? The Tesla truck explosion in Las Vegas, in front of the Trump Tower in Vegas, and the supposedly upstanding Green Beret that was behind this explosion. There are many school of thoughts, and there was an interview at the Sean Ryan podcast about a guy who received emails and social media communications from the guy who supposedly suicided himself and exploded that Cybertruck in front of the Las Vegas Trump Tower. And I touched a little bit about that, but what's on fire right now is because just about an hour ago, Trudeau has announced that he is going to resign, but only after proroguing the government, which gives him until March to set his mess in order and try to have a comeback. Something very sinister and something very fishy going on with that. I do not trust what's going on. So let's have a community conversation. I know that most of our listeners are at the office or at work right now, but that's fine. People will be tuning in tonight after they come home after work hours, and we will wait for their comments on social media platforms that these streaming platforms will get forwarded to. So I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. This is Freedom Fighter Radio. Let's get this show started right now.
Consider supporting the OJTV production cost and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadian. I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
Immediately out! Immediately go and don't come back.
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner, and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
Welcome back to the Freedom Fighter Radio. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. Thank you for tuning in today on our radio style broadcasts on 4 channels, simulcasting on 4 channels on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and also a small channel on YouTube. Folks, I'm not a big believer of YouTube, but if you come and help us um, help with the algorithm on YouTube by going there and subscribing and following us on YouTube, it will help with the algorithm, which in turn hopefully will help us reach out to more new listeners. We understand that these algorithms were designed so that we only reach the people who are already believers, and to give us an effect of preaching to the choir. Of course, that is their propaganda and agenda in the social media tech giants, so that our message will not reach those who needs to be reached, but only those who are already followers and believers of the same message. And just a side note, one of the things, maybe if we have time today, we are also going to touch on this new algorithm that Elon Musk have announced for his social media, and I'm sure that many social media tech billionaires will follow suit. That he was saying that he X the X platform has now come up with an algorithm that will detect negative speech or negativity. This is another path towards suppressing our free speech and also our freedom to think for ourselves, or the freedom to be given every information that there is out there. That's what the internet's supposed to be, a place where we are able to deep dive and find information. But they have determined that they are the arbiters of truth, the arbiters of information, what information we are able to reach or find. But that's a little later into this podcast, if we are able to find the time for it, because the burning situation right now in Canada is Trudeau's announcement of his resignation, but only after proroguing the government, which means the entire parliament, the entire government of Canada is on hold until March, where and it is not automatic. The opposition parties will have to launch a vote of non-confidence, and hopefully that will not be hijacked. That in itself, although Trudeau has in his announcement he said that he already asked the permission of the governor general. Again, there you go, folks. You have to see that our government is not of the people, by the people, or for the people. Even bringing down the government or restarting a new parliament needs the permission of the representative of the King of England in what supposed to be a sovereign nation. Are we really sovereign nation if we have to kiss the hands and bow on our knees to submit to the monarchy of England still? What kind of sovereign nation? That's all just a joke, in my opinion. I think we have to continue the conversation about a Republic of Canada idea, or Canada. Canada being the 51st state of the United States is not a bad idea to explore, right? And people are so allergic about that. But, if we are truly sovereign nation, then let the Canadians choose. Do we want to continue on under the heavy hand of the monarchy, the British monarchy, or do we want to determine for ourselves if we want to be a republic, or if we want to join a different union, such as the Union of the United States of America? If that is the choice of the people, then we could say we're still exercising that as a sovereign nation. Anyways, folks, share the link from our Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and YouTube on your social media, so that tonight when people are coming home from work, people will know that we have done this in the afternoon. It's 31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time now. So, yeah, apologies to those who were waiting for the 1 o'clock. As you know, on Mondays, it's a little bit of late start, Mondays and Tuesdays, because we are trying to gather and weigh in if an internal assessment, what I do here for the Freedom Fighter Radio. Do we weigh in on current news cycles, or we skip that altogether and just pursue our line of thought that we have been last week we were talking about privacy, and we were talking about internet censorship and thought control that the Malthusians, the oligarchs, the social engineers have really rolled out into society. I would like us to continue and pursue that line of thought, to not only to deep dive what has been done unto us and to be awakened, but also to have a conversation across the board throughout all of our listeners. So, folks, let me just do a quick sound check here to make sure that our mic is being heard out there. So, a quick check on Odyssey. Let me unmute the. Okay, good. Our mic is being heard out there. So, okay, that's good. My monitor volume is a little too loud, so let me turn that down. But maybe that my microphone is coming really loud out there as well. That might be an indicator for me to turn up my headset and turn down the mic. So let's now go and check our Rumble feed. Odyssey, let me unmute the. Okay, the Rumble feed is going through. Okay, now I am checking the BitChute feed. All right, that sounds good. The BitChute feed is coming through really good. Maybe you can hear it from the background as I unmute and mute back many of this tab on a separate computer, so that we can tell for sure that it's not just a reloop. All right, that sounds good. Okay, so that YouTube is also coming through perfectly on the audio. We're radio style today, and that will be the entire theme of 2025. A side note as well, I almost had a screaming match with a local police officer last night here in downtown Toronto at the Lakeshore while the hockey game is coming out. Pretty chaotic down there, but I had to call out one of the local police officers for not doing her job properly and putting us in danger. And then she started threatening to pull out my license because, and she started lying that I almost hit her, but I got witnesses and my voice was starting to raise up. I don't like going confrontational with our police officers because I'm a big supporter of the blue of our men in uniform, but certain individuals that, you know, allowing their powers to go to their heads and abusing their authority by threatening people when they reason out, that really takes me off. And I almost got into a screaming match with this female police officer. And as soon as I pull out my phone and I was telling her that let's have a conversation about this live on my social media, she started walking away and just dropped the thing. So, and that's not the first time it happened, folks. In Canada's Wonderland, that happened to me as well when I was surrounded by police officers, and when they saw that I'm pulling out my camera so that we can continue our conversation live, they walk away from me. So the power of exercising your free speech, which is the theme of what we talked about last week, continues on to be an important theme to our cause. So let me do one quick check because I'm still trying to make sure our background music here is not overpowering. And again, folks, those who are listening live, there's a lot of extras like this, but not on the edited version with the video. Because I'm also recording this offline. I have a video camera here offline that is recording as we broadcast. So that will be coming up tomorrow. Let me listen without my headphones here. Not on the edited version with the video, because I'm also recording this offline. Okay. I have a video camera here offline. I can hear that the. Let me so that will be coming up. Let me mute that again because that's. Listen without my headphones. All right. Thank you for your patience, folks. So let's get right into the first item of our conversation this morning. Well, it's already afternoon. Sorry, I intended to go live in the morning, but I have a lot of kitchen noise in my small apartment, and that's always a challenge when we do not have our own studio just yet, a makeshift studio where I live. It's unpredictable noise traffic, but thank you for your patience. Please share again, folks, and help us continue with this proposition to be able to broadcast radio style on a daily by coming and supporting our production here at fun at ojtv.ca. Fun at ojtv.ca. You can send us your love gift and support, financial support, so that we can continue to do this. And also, there's also an option for you to help us with monthly donation. You know, we start at $3. I think everybody can do $3 a month to help us continue on and fund these broadcasts at our Patreon account at patreon.com/OJTV Canada. That's patreon.com/OJTV Canada. So I got here the transcript of. I was wanting to play the audio of Trudeau's quote unquote resignation announcement, which is not happening today. He's announcing that he will resign. He was not announcing that he has resigned. He is announcing today that he will resign. He will resign sometime in March after they are able to select a leader of the party. You know, this is a Canadian Westminster style parliament system in Canada is so corrupted because this is not the way it's supposed to be in our fellow Commonwealth countries such as Australia, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. You know, you don't have to wait for election when a prime minister is not in line with her party. The party can select a new leader, and essentially that leader is the prime minister, the leader of the ruling party, or the leader of the party that has been voted in, despite how minority or majority is the position of that party in parliament. The leader of the party that has the most seats is the prime minister of the country. That's how it is in the United Kingdom. That's how it is in Australia. That's how it is in New Zealand. And those are the fellow British colony. Well, yes, folks, you heard me say it. British colony. I know people think that the British Empire is not existent anymore. And so they make us believe that all of these countries that are in line with the United Kingdom are just simply, sovereign nations with associated to the crown through what we call the Commonwealth. Uh, the truth is, if we are going to ask the permission of the Governor General just to have an election, what the heck is that about? We are still under British colony, in my opinion. Okay, so here is the first part of the Trudeau resignation, quote unquote, resignation announcement press conference today. I would like to play the audio, but I couldn't find anywhere that I can download it. So I just have the transcript for now. So let's get started with that one. Justin Trudeau. So I think there's a little small talk here because when I was listening to the live cast, I didn't hear this part, but I'm gonna read to you the part that I have here with my downloaded transcript. So Trudeau speaking now. This is what he said. So I thought it might be fun for us to do this again. Excuse the interruption, folks. Okay. So I thought it might be fun for us to do this again. Every morning I've woken up as Prime Minister. I've been inspired by the resilience and generosity and the determination of Canadians. Really. Remember, folks, this rat is the one who said that we are post uh what was this word? We are post nationalist Canada, meaning he has given um importance to the multicultural nature of Canada and trampled upon Canadian heritage, Canadian identity. I'm an immigrant, folks. I identify as Canadian. I've been here um 100% Canadian. I've been in Canada since 93, and that is my heritage now. I'm still on top of my priority as a personal identity. My top identity is a son of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, Yeshua. I'm first a Christian. I'm first the son and child of God, and then I'm Canadian. I also identify partly American because my Filipino heritage, we were a colony or a territory of the United States for a short time. Well, not too short, and our we have a very strong affinity with the United States as Filipinos, and our entire government was set up as a mini mirror image of the American three branches of government of the style of the executive, the judicial, and the parliamentary. because the Americans help us form our own independent government after our Independence Day. So when Trudeau would say that, you know, he's um, he is working for the Canadians, it really irks me, and it makes me feel so cringy about his um, wordsmithing, which he does not mean, and I it comes across as very disingenuous because we know that this is the guy who does not respect Canadian heritage, who does not respect Canadian culture, and who does not respect Canadian sovereignty by selling us out to globalist forces such as the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and the World Health Organization to take over even our own pandemic response in the future. This is the kind of guy who wants to just submit the entire sovereignty of Canada to globalist force. So let's get back to many cringy and irk worthy lines from Justin Trudeau's transcript of his announcement to retire earlier today, earlier this morning, around 10, just quarter to 11, when he gave these statements. Continuing on, he says here, it is a driving force of every single day. I have the privilege of serving in this office. That is why since 2015, I fought for this country, for you to strengthen and grow the middle class. Didn't he just destroy the middle class? I used to be I used to think I was around middle class. I'm now lower middle class, but I think I'm below the poverty line now. And I think many friends of mine who felt like we used to almost made it to the middle class, we were just a step back. A lot of immigrants, pre Trudeau immigrants, right? We were not those immigrants during the Trudeau era where they were just like, funneled in by in the droves. No, we my family went through the vetting process, that and the entire procedure, the legal procedure to migrate and be landed immigrants in Canada. Like I said, we arrived in Canada in 1993, so we went through the process of the most robust immigration policy in the world, that everybody in the world was looking up to Canada as the best immigration system, immigration policy in the world. Even the Americans were looking up to Canada during those times when I migrated. My family migrated to Canada as a family class migrant under my father's name when he was still alive. So when he was saying that I fought for this country, for you to strengthen and grow the middle class, this is again very, very disingenuous and very cringy for me to hear it from a rodent such as Trudeau, globalist Trudeau, saying this, gaslighting Canadians with his lies. Why we rallied to support each other through the pandemic? Again, this is now I'm reading on in Trudeau's words. I'm reading his statements now from this morning's press conference. He continued to said, "Why we rallied to support each other through the pandemic, to advance reconciliation, to defend free trade on this continent, to stand strong with Ukraine and our democracy, and to fight climate change and get our economy ready for the future. We are at a critical moment in the world." Man, this guy needs some good mentors, how he would write his speech, because these talking points are already not going to resonate for with the majority Canadians, especially when he is gaslighting with climate change and Ukraine, democracy, all of these, even his own party, even immigrants and many Ukrainians don't believe any of these lies. Many Ukrainian Canadians do not believe this posturing, this tokenizing these things to make him look good. what do you call that again? Virtue signaling. It's all about virtue signaling. It's all about branding for this for this woke metrosexual rodent. Okay, so continuing on. Ah, my friends, as you all know, I'm a fighter. Yeah, fighting for the global cabal. You are indeed. Every bone in my body has always told me to fight because I care deeply about Canadians. Wow, man, it's really. I need a bucket here just in case I throw up. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry that I have to read this for you. I know it's irking you, but we really need to point out because some people are still deceived by all of these deceptive statements, these lies that's coming out from this rodent's mouth. So let's continue on. I care deeply about this country, he said, and I will always be motivated by what is the best interest of Canadians. And the fact is, this effort to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. Well, let's just put it this way. I think the more accurate statement that he should have said here is the longest hijack of a minority government that people do not want to have to linger anymore, like an old fart that never goes away. Even when you open the windows and the doors, this fart is freaking resilient and relentless in annoying everybody in that room we call Canada. I think that's the statement how I hear Justin Trudeau when he gives all of these fascistic metrosexual lies that he spews out. Um, okay, let me just maximize my screen over here. All right, continuing on. All right, so continuing on with Justin Trudeau's transcript from his morning briefing today. Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved have been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids, wait a second, folks. This is the prime minister who's hated by 90% of Canadians, hated by his own party. I don't think he even has any family anymore. His kids are putting up with him, and he would tell him he's left by his wife, right? Because she couldn't stand him anymore. And now he would bring his kids into the picture here. Leave the kids alone, man. Even I hate your gods and I hate your family and your family lineage. Leave the kids alone. I still, I still protect even your own kids. Do not bring them into this conversation because that is pretty much child abuse for you to be citing them and bringing them down in your very garbage reputation. Don't bring your kids along with your woke, libtard, cringy, just garbage. Don't bring your kids with you, man. Don't bring your kids down the vortex with you. If you wanna continue on to commit your political branding suicide, your reputation for your family, just don't bring your kids with you. So I hope these kids will have a different direction and leave politics altogether because we don't want to see any more future Trudeau ever to come into the political scene in Canada, to be very honest. So sorry again to keep going with a transcript from the Prime Minister, but this is how we are going to dissect everything that he gaslit you with his morning presser today. Throughout the course of my career, he said, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. He's talking about his family. He doesn't have a family. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader. Ah, come on, why do you have to start with a party leader? The rest of Canada wants to hear you resign as prime minister primarily. Okay, so is that I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects the next leader through a robust nationwide competitive process. Last night, I asked the president of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. Well, yeah, let's give credit to where credit is due. Thank you for realizing that. But you should have realized that like 5 years ago, man. Everybody, even, I don't know. I personally, from 2015, already said this kid is bad news for Canada. And I turned out to be right because this country is now totally flushed down the toilet maybe 5 times. We have been flushed down the toilet 5 times. But because the third Trudeau has been popping back up, we need to flush him down the toilet. But he's the kind of turd that doesn't want to be flushed down. That's what he is, right? So sorry for the graphic illustration here, but that's really how I feel about this. I think we need to put Trudeau on a suicide watch, folks, because all of the world hates him, all of Canada hates him, even his own party hates him, and I don't think any of his family respects him. So put this guy on a suicide watch, or maybe it'll be safer if he just sign up for his own MAID program, so that it will be a safe, less traumatic, and nobody witnesses, because they have designed it that way to be discreet, to be, just hide people away from the public. And it's in the thousands of people that they have killed with this program. So I think he should be the first one to to have set an example for his libtard followers, what they need to be doing to cleanse Canada from the turd that they are. Anyways, so continuing on with the turd's speech this morning. The Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution in the history of our great country and democracy. Excuse me? Excuse me. The Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution. I think the Liberal Party of Canada should not exist anymore. We we already have one communist party, and that's the NDP. I think the NDP and the Liberal Party needs to amalgamate. They need to combine, have an acquisition and mergers, and then lit them up to the ground. I think the Liberal Party and the NDP party, if we are going to continue with this idea of a great democracy, the great country of Canada, we cannot continue on as a great country of Canada with libtards and communist NDPs ever present in our parliaments. We just need to really clean up. If we are going to be a great country, clean up parliament, get rid of all the liberals and the NDPs, vote them out, vote every single one of them out in the next election. Please, Canada, I plead for you to wake up. Okay, continuing on with his transcript. A new prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party will carry its values and ideals into the next election. a new prime minister and a leader of the Liberal Party? What are you saying here, Trude? Third, what are you going to dictate? Your government is going to dictate the next prime minister. The new prime minister is going to be the leader of the Liberal Party. So what happens if you lose the election? You are still going to dictate that the Liberal Party leader is going to be the prime minister? Do you understand Canadian politics, boy? I don't understand if you even. I didn't go to high school in Canada. So I didn't have any civics education, Canadian civics. I had to educate myself. And I'm not saying that I know everything about Canadian politics, but I continue to educate myself. But I think I know a little better than you, Mr. Trude, that the leader of the party that wins the election, that becomes the prime minister. And your party is not going to win the next election. I think we have to make that clear. So, what are you talking about? That the new prime minister, who is the leader of the Liberal Party, will carry out its values and ideas to the next election? Excuse me. So, if you quit today as a prime minister and your party selects with during this prorogation, you shouldn't have prorogued the parliament. You should just have allowed the session to continue, right? And then allowed the oppositions to bring down your government through a vote of non-confidence. But why do you have to prorogue? Why do you have to prorogue so that there's no parliament, right? We know that's so. Are you going to assign a new leader and a new prime minister before the election? Because what you just said here does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to read Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau's statement here again. He said, a new prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party will carry its values and ideals into the next election. What are you talking about, boy? What are you talking about? My goodness. I think you need to go through basic Parliament 101 course when you were a new MP. I think you have to go through that again, Mr. Trudeau. I'm a little workout this morning, folks, because there are so many things going on. So many things going on in the world. We haven't gone to the American issues just yet, and it's already kind of draining all my energy. Remember last night I had this screaming match with a local police officer here who was pushing me to almost got into an accident at the lakeshore because of her incompetence. And I almost got into a screaming match with her. But my dad said to avoid confrontation because he said, to speak is gold. Oh, sorry. He said, my dad, when he was alive, he kept on hammering onto me. He said, Joe, my dad, his name is Pepe, Jose, Pepe. His first name is Jose. Just like my name. My name is Joe, Joseph. Filipino for Joseph is Jose. My dad would say, Joe, to speak is silver, but silence is gold. So you have to know when to speak and when not to speak. And that is always a balancing act in my personal life. As a podcaster, it is hard not to speak out because that is your job as a podcaster is to speak your mind and to speak what the people wants you to talk about, right? Well, a public service podcaster, at least that's your role. And you know, from time to time, I'm successfully able to hold my tongue. But from time to time, that also kind of struggle an internal conflict with me with the principle of exercising free speech because free speech is not free speech unless you actually speak up. So in the next coming episodes, some of the titles I have selected for some of our future episode is from a very well-known, maybe not so well-known, but for those who are, you know, close followers of freedomizers like you and I. A lot of us know a very famous quote from Edward Snowden, and he said these quotes. He said, "Those people who says I don't need privacy because I have nothing to hide is akin to the people who says I don't need free speech because I got nothing to say." I got 2 episodes coming up based on those important quote from Edward Snowden, folks. And so, episode 1 on free speech and privacy is episode 1 will be titled "I Got Nothing to Hide. Don't Give Me Privacy." And title number 2 on an upcoming podcast episode will be titled "I Got Nothing to Say. Don't Give Me Free Speech." Right? Well, that's always, I try to title our podcast in such a way that is kind of sarcastic satire. So it catches the attention of many of our freedomizers, and some of them already, when I'm being satirical, they don't get the satire, and they accuse me of being a libtard, and that always give me the kicks when people are just not catching on to the sarcasm. It's fun. It's fun to have that because when they realize at the end, they they go back and say, "Sorry, Joe, I didn't understand what you meant at first, but now I do." Okay, so continuing on with these truths, this third truths transcript from this morning. Again, because I have so many windows open, I couldn't find where I can mute the background volume. So many overlapping windows. Okay, folks, there, finally, I was able to find it. All right, folks, we are about to go on a break soon because I'm running out of breath here. But let me read a couple more paragraphs from this prime minister. Actually, I think this might be the last paragraph. Okay, he said here, the Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution. That might be the last part. Was that the last? Okay, I don't see anymore. Or did I? Yeah, okay. Actually, that was the last part. Looks like that was the last part of his speech this morning, or his press conference. He said, the Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution in the history of our great country and democracy. A new Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party will carry its values and ideals into the next election. I'm excited to see the process unfold in the months ahead. We were elected for the third time in 2021 with a very slim minority, just because you fooled many of the Ontario, Toronto riding who are totally woke. Anyways, the third time in 2021, he says, to strengthen the economy post-pandemic and advance Canada's interest in a complicated world. And that's exactly the job I and we will continue to do for Canadians. And I think that's where he ended. And then there was an question and answer period, which I would like to weigh in on, but we don't have the clip for that. So, folks, let's take a short break here. And when we come back, we'll continue on with this January 6th. You guys remember anything from January 6th last year? 2020. So January 6th, 2025, morning, well, it's afternoon now, radio podcast live here on the Freedom Fighter Radio. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door. And because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
Consider supporting the OJTV production cost and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast only here on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Immediately out! Immediately go and don't come back.
Welcome back, folks. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. This is Freedom Fighter Radio on a Monday, the 6th of January, 2025. Wow, 25 years since the Y2K scare. I'd like to welcome many of our BitChute listeners. We always get an organic high live viewership on BitChute. For some reason, if I can speak to our BitChute listeners, please do subscribe to our channel, because although I see that there's always more organic viewers live on BitChute, there's not a lot of subscribers. Please do help us promote our channel here on BitChute with your help by subscribing, folks. It will be really, really helpful for us if you come and subscribe to the channel. If you are already a, what do you call that? Like a local BitChute ecology community Patreon or patron here on BitChute, please also add us in your channels that you tune in, because we intend to go live daily for the entire 2025 season, albeit it'll be audio radio style only podcast. But it doesn't seem that we're coming across. Let me just unmute BitChute. Okay, yes, we're coming.
Also, add us
Yeah, we're coming through BitChute. So yeah, BitChute friends and brothers and sisters in the fight, brothers and sisters in the faith, please help us reach more people by subscribing to our BitChute here. I can see that there's a lot of live viewers on BitChute, but we don't have subscribers. And we have a lot of subscribers now already. We already surpassed 1,000 subscribers on Rumble, but yeah, we have very little live viewers. I know because a lot of our listeners on Rumble also are within the Eastern Standard Time Zone community, so that's understandable. We'll see many more of them later on tonight after office hours, I guess. We'll, but folks, we used to have, and we still have over 100,000 followers on multiple pages on Facebook, and now we are increasing followership also on Getter, Truth Social, Gab, and there's a local social media from Alberta named Friendivu. Have a lot of friends there. So what we do is we simulcast on 4 channels in the morning. I mean, this is the plan for 2025, and then I download the feed and then give it good edit in small shorts segments and repost it on the social media platforms. And so some of our community members will not be listening to this broadcast until later tonight. Based on Eastern Standard Time, I see that there's a surge of listenership around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So, but we want to do this morning so that for those who are in other time zones, who is more conducive on tuning in at this time, it will also serve them. So, folks, thank you for listening in. I want to move. We, we'll we'll talk a little bit more, unless there are some of you who are listening in Canada. If you want to weigh in, and there's some more things that you think I missed on this particular segment regarding Trudeau's announcement of his resignation by March. If there's anything that you want us to talk about regarding that, please come to the comment section. Most of you are Rumble, and also again we are not we're not living anymore in Facebook. That's where many of our Canadian listeners are, is on Facebook. Unfortunately, folks, Facebook is not allowing a Rumble studio go live on Facebook. The only way I can live on Facebook is 1 channel at a time or on my profile using a phone. I don't know what is the technicalities behind that, but I couldn't use Rumble Studio to go live on Facebook. And anyway, anyways, there's 5 Facebook channels or pages, combined 70,000 followers. That fascist book, Facebook just decided that they take away our admin access to those 5 pages that I created personally. There's no other owners of those pages except for us here on Freedom Fighter Radio. And 5 of those large following pages, one day after the glitch, about 2 weeks ago, remember that Facebook was down, and then for about half a day, and then when they came back on, all of a sudden my admin access to 5 of my large pages is missing. And I reach out to them and ask them to restore, and no response. So I found out that we can get it back through hiring a white hat hacker, because those pages are still in existence. Nobody's running them. It is still floating out there. But to get it back to the original owner, yours truly, who created those pages, I have to hire a white hat hacker, which is not in within our budget right now. So, folks, if you want to help out the Freedom Fighter Radio, please come to our Patreon at patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Help us out even with our starting Patreon. There is $3 per month of financial help for the Freedom Fighter Radio, or you can also send us one-time gifts donation to help fund this broadcast at Fund OJTV, FUND at gmail.com. That's Fund OJTV at gmail.com. So I leave it up to you folks to help us out there. And I pray that I'm out of frame. Like I said, I am offline recording this on a video camera for our edit tomorrow. Anyways, folks, anybody who's listening in from Canada, I want to move on from the third, the third's announcement, the Trudeau's announcement of his resignation by March after proroguing Canadian Parliament. There's more to talk about that tomorrow when we know more what's going on. So I guess they're not going to come back to Parliament in the new year anymore until March. I think the session will start in March now. It should have been. I think so. Yeah, I'm still new with the parliamentary procedures, but I believe that the MP should be coming back to Ottawa a lot earlier than March. But since it's prorogued now until March, the parliament session will not start until March again. So we are on limbo in Canada. Meanwhile, 13 days from now, what date are we in? The 6th. So wow, we're like 14 days away from the inauguration of President Trump, and there are still forces that are trying to prevent him to this, even in the 11th hour. So I'm gonna I'm gonna scoot over now to our American topics for today. So again, Canadian brothers and sisters in the fight and in the faith, if there anything that I missed out on the Canadian conversation of this podcast, please come to the comment section and we will include that on tomorrow's episode. For sure, we will start with the Canadian segment anyways tomorrow. Every morning we'll start with the Canadian segment and then we'll go to our American issues. And one of the American issues that is very pertinent and relevant these days, folks, is that there are still forces who are trying to prevent Trump from getting back to office. One of those is, I believe, the judge that was in charge of his hearings. The leading up to the election, he's been the lawfare that has been hurled upon the Trump team, Donald Trump himself. They still want to, the judge still want to do the sentencing of Donald Trump, even though he is already the president elect and he is 14 days away from being inaugurated and going back to the White House. There are still forces like Raskin and some of the Congress men and women, and I think even in the Senate, who are trying to collude on trying to decertify or disqualify Trump from finally getting back to office. This is absurd, folks. Like, again, the Trump presidency is not perfect. And to be honest, I might be, because we have to hold those who are in power their feet to the fire. As Freedom Podcaster, that is our job. It's not our job to be partisan, right? Although I am really so relieved that we got rid of all the wokesters and the libtard Democrats from power in the next 4 years. But anybody who's in power, as we are the alternative to the media, and the media is not doing their jobs in putting the feet to the fire of those who are in power. We don't have a choice. We have to do it. And so, as much as I love the Trump doctrine and the Trump renaissance, it is our job to hold the feet of the Donald Trump team and those he will be appointing into cabinet and the entire Trump presidency. It is our job to put their feet to the fire, right? Because the biggest challenge right now I find is that many of these art technocrats, and you hear me say this over and over and over, those who follow the Freedom Fighter Radio we've been doing this for about 3 years now. Those who have been following us on the Freedom Fighter Radio, you know that my biggest allergy and the biggest allergy for freedomizers, I think, should be technocracy because that's their end game. And the unfortunate thing right now is that the Trump train has been boarded. They have been boarded by some of the biggest art technocrats in the world. Leading the way is Elon Musk. And this morning I was listening to Alex Jones. I love Alex Jones. Man, I'm telling you that Alex Jones is one of our modern day heroes. But I am differing with a certain one point of contention with Alex Jones recently is that his gushing over Elon Musk is something that I cannot be on board with Alex Jones on that. That one thing, 99% of everything that Alex Jones says, I think is a harbinger's voice. He's a freedomizer. He's a bona fide, 1,000% authentic freedomizer, 1,000% authentic anti-globalist, red pillar. He is a brother in the fight. He is a brother in the faith, 1,000%. But this one thing, so 99%, I totally agree with all the direction that Alex Jones is heading to, except for this one thing. The only one thing that I cannot get on board with Alex Jones is his gushing over Elon Musk. That's the only one thing, and I find that very like folks. I'm not emancipating my admiration, my spiritual and emotional alliance with Alex Jones. I'm not. I'm actually looking forward this new affiliate links, the affiliate program that they have at Infowars. Since we don't have, we only have a couple of regular uh, sponsors for this show that's helping us stay afloat financially. I am seriously considering, and actually will have already considered, and will actually move forward with the idea of signing up for that affiliate program with Infowars and Alex Jones. I love Alex Jones, but I have to disagree with him from line by line, precept by precept. Not, we came into a world of dichotomies, like either you're with the left or with the right, and I think we have to surpass. We have to ascend from that paradigm of dichotomies of left versus right paradigm. We're over that now, folks. As you can see, even many who are supposedly on the right, the rhinos, and what do we call them in Canada? The rhinos. We don't have Republicans in name only here, but we have conservatives in name only in Canada. What do they call them? The sinos? The sinos, the kinos in Canada. See, we have to. I was very friendly with Pierre Polyev, but now there are still a lot of things that I agree with the Polyev doctrine, but there are so many more that I disagree with. And when Pierre Polyev become prime minister, a lot of people who has given Polyev has given time. I had the privilege and opportunity to have a one-on-one with Pierre Polyev 4 times in different platforms. One of them was on a radio show in Ottawa that I was invited to be a guest co-host, and the last one was last year in I think in last year August, that I was given 10 minutes one-on-one with him via Zoom, but it's extended to 15 minutes, and his press secretary was harassing me on my text to end it when we went over. But I think I will. I'm very friendly with Pierre Polyev. Prior him throwing the Christine Anderson under the bus, and being some you know virtue signaling with tokenizing different races in Canada, including my race, including, well, you see, we gotta be one Canadian. but we have to respect the races, that the affinities, and celebrate the races. That is one thing. Trudeau didn't got it right properly, but yes, we have to respect the diversity that we have, but we have to have one united Canadian identity, as in terms of heritage and in terms of value, our Canadian value, our Canadian family values. We cannot diversify our value to a point that it's so diluted that we don't know who we are. We don't have an identity as Canadians. We gotta surpass that. We have to ascend from the left right paradigm. We have to ascend from, and unfortunately, there are many of my brothers and sisters in the fight in Canada who thinks that Canada should be identified as white Canadian. That's a racial identity politics, in my opinion, right? Because we already way past that. Prior to the Trudeau years, folks, it is Trudeau who made us so hyper conscious and sensitive to our races. We used to not talk about that in Canada. In Toronto, we used to not be so sensitive about the difference, racial tension. There's no racial tension in Toronto. When I moved to Toronto in 95, I came to Canada in 93. I was first in Mississauga for a couple of years, and then I moved to Toronto right away. But one of the things that I celebrate about Toronto is we do not have any racial tension. As a new migrant back in 93, 94, when I came to Toronto, I do not have any. There's no racial tension whatsoever. There is very mild. You can never get rid of it 100%. There's still going to be mild, racial. How would I say? Favoring one race over the other, kind of. Yeah, and it's naturally, you belong to one race. You naturally gravitate with people in those race. But I personally, especially my first 10 years in Canada, I rarely had any Filipino friends. I was mingled and soaked in my church, and my church was either predominantly black or predominantly white. So I had very little Filipino friends in my first 10 years in Canada, but I never had any racial tension with anybody. And I do not see as there's not a sense of racial tension prior to the Trudeau years. Prior to 2015, Canada was a perfect place to have racial harmony in any country in the world. I would say Canada was. It was Trudeau who brought all of these racial hypersensitivity in our cerebral cortex, in our conscious minds. Nobody thinks about racial tensions or one race being better than the other. I always felt in my first 10 years, especially, and throughout my few years before the Trudeau years, I always felt that even though I was a migrant from the Philippines, from a third world country, well, developing country, but for many many decades was a third world country, the Philippines. I came to Canada with broken English, with dark skin, with bad accent, and was still respected, was still valued as a person. Honestly, that's why I fell in love with the Canadian culture when I came here. Toronto culture, as liberal as it was, as libtard as Toronto culture was, racial tension in Canada, in Toronto, was virtually non-existent when I first arrived. But all of that has been brought by Trudeau. So it is unfortunate for me to see some of my fellow freedomizers who is bringing back the, because of all the influx of migration. And I also am against the influx of migration without proper vetting and without, uh, not based on meritocracy, but based on tokenizing culture. A big surge from India, for example. I love the Indian people, but a big surge from India and hijacking the student visa kind of hoax, like the maneuvering using the student visa, and then they become eh, they are able to work, and then eventually they're able to participate in the political discourse. Those kind of manipulation, I'm totally against that. Right? Even if they're coming from the Philippines, if they're not fully vetted, if they do not go through the process, like I said, on first, my affinity, my citizenship is first as a son of God the Father, as a son of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, Yeshua Hamashiach. That's my first affinity, first and foremost. Then I'm Canadian. Then I am the citizen of the world, and that's my lineage. And my loyalty is first to my family, to God, number one. Second, my family. Third is my community, right? And community means you and I, freedomizers for Canada. It's not about Canada must be white or Canada must be a new face of Canada. They say the migrants face, the new Canadians should be brown and yellow, and no. Let's get past that, folks. We're better than that. We are humans. We are not so encapsulated only by race, right? So I never used the race card. I never had to. And Canada is very good at respecting races, from diverse races, whether you are of Caucasian or non-Caucasian race. So let's not get back into that uncivilized ways of the old, prior to Canada being so civilized. And there are some values in multiculturalism. I hate that multiculturalism is becoming a pathway to globalism in our countries. Yeah, but there are some values in the multicultural, in terms of like treating each other with equal value, but not erasing. It should not be used. Multiculturalism should not be used as a way of um, diluting Canadian heritage, American heritage, European, Western heritage. Still, the best civ- civility and civilization has came from a Nordic, a Caucasian roots, and many of our family Christian values were first espoused by many of our European ancestry. But let's not get back to that level of low IQ, race based debate and discussion. Not from the perspective of Caucasian, not from the perspective of non Caucasian, not from folks, especially the freedom community. Let's come on. We do. We cannot say that Canada has been overtaken because we cannot see white faces in a certain shopping mall. That's a little bit, although that's true and that is concerning. That if it's causing white people to not participate in society because they're vilified, that is wrong. If white people are discriminated heavily, and to a point that they cannot come to the shopping malls, well, when we see a lot of brown faces in a certain shopping mall, and my brothers and sisters in the fight are saying, "Oh, Canada has been taken over because there's no white face in this particular shopping mall," or maybe you're just looking at a certain area of shopping mall. I am so against a society where we vilify all the white people. And it is happening. Yes, we have to admit that there is a force against Caucasian men, especially men. But we cannot participate in the gaslighting and also be a sound for racial. Um, eh, what's his name? Vivek has a good term for it. I cannot remember the term. Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about how it's not about race; it's about your affinity and your Americanism, your American spirit for American listeners, right? And the same goes in Canada, right? To be freedomized from the global hold doesn't mean that we go back to pure Caucasian Canada as an identity. I don't think that's what that means to be Canadian, right? There are so many non-Canadians, there are so many non-Caucasians who helped build Canada. Let's all just respect one another. Everybody is of equal value. Let's not go back to that animalistic, uncivilized, low IQ paradigm of creating a hierarchy in our society based on race. Folks, we're past that. Come on. Let's move on. Let's not go back and let's not participate in that anymore. But the real fight right now is between freedom and technocracy. Technocracy is the new fascism. And technocracy is even more diabolical than the tyranny of old. Technocracy is even more diabolical than communism, fascism. It's the totalitarian of all totalitarianism. That's what it is. So let's move on because we have a new millennium problem. We have a 2025 kind of problem. We don't have a 1950s problem anymore. I don't even 1950s were well adjusted to racial diversity. Well, let's not go back to those era where racial tensions were still the most predominant social issues. We're way past that. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
This prophet immediately out! Immediately go and don't come back.
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
Consider supporting the OJTV production cost and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Welcome back on our January 6, 2025 live radio style broadcast on 4 simultaneous channels on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and a small YouTube channel that if you guys help support the YouTube. I'm not a big fan of YouTube, but we are on YouTube as well. Just in case if our algorithm on YouTube goes uh, a better and a better. We have one channel on YouTube that has 2,500 followers, but that's on a different genre. But we have a YouTube right now with 42 subscribers. If you guys help our YouTube, maybe we can reach out the lost in YouTube. I know to secure our free speech proposition, we have to maintain our main channels to be Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute, right? But to reach the laws are most of the laws are in YouTube. So if we help our YouTube channel, I think we at least have a prospect of reaching out to those who do not hear our freedom message out there. It's like evangelism with the word of God, I think, right? That's the analogy I have. Anyways, folks, the before we went on a break, I was talking about the end game. The fight is not between Caucasians and blacks and Asians and that there should not be that kind of uh, archaic discourse anymore. I think everybody needs to have equal value. And the most assaulted right now are the Caucasians. Yes, we have to speak about stop harassing and discriminating against white people, especially white men. But we cannot also allow ourselves to participate in that hierarchy of Canada is a white country and America is a white country. We're beyond that. We all help build Canada. You do not need to have a white face to be a an authentic Canadian. And we're past that. The main focus right now is a fight between freedomizers, us freedomizers, against tyranny, against totalitarian tyranny, right? And totalitarian tyranny is now expressed in our modern day era, in the fourth industrial revolution. The totalitarian tyranny of today is what we call technocracy. This is where our fight. Everything else is distraction. All the racial tensions, racial talk, those are all distraction. Our end game is tyranny and possibly fake alien invasion, which will bring about the new world order. And so, with that, let me kind of weigh in on this the suicide bomber, so-called suicide bomber in Las Vegas in front of the Trump Tower. Have you guys heard of the latest guest that Sean Ryan has on? They were talking about the suicide bomber. They think it was a fake suicide bomb. So these are there are two set of theories. There's nothing wrong with theorizing, folks. Again, when people are accusing you of being a conspiracy theorist, that only means that you have an intelligent mind to try and piece things together, because theorizing is an intelligent person's exercise. There's nothing wrong with theorizing as long as we're saying it's a theory. It's not a fact. But investigators, and one of the things I want to look into is private investigation. I heard that they get good money. I'm looking for a part-time job, and that's one of the things that I've been looking at recently is they pay good money apparently for private investigators, and it's only a very short course certificate that you can take from some private college. So as an investigator in the process of investigation, you have to create numbers of theory, and by deduction or reduction, you try to eliminate the among the possible theories. You narrow it down to the most possible theories, and then you work your way from that point. So theorizing is an intelligent person's activity. So there are two theories regarding the car bomber, the Cybertruck, Tesla Cybertruck bomber. Apparently, he is a upstanding Green Beret. I forgot to get the name. His last name is something like Schellenberger or something like that. But anyways, I forgot the name. I forgot to get the name. I was listening to it last night, but there are two theories that happen because what's interesting about this suicide bomber, he sent letters, emails out to some conservative media such as Sean Ryan and some military members of the military who happen to have social media presence. So that is the name. I might as well go there right now. Let me just. Uh, I know I want to talk about this, but the Trudeau presser this morning kind of out took away a lot of my time. But let me go there right now. I'll get the name of the witness or the guest, Sean Ryan's guest. About this is right on. I think January 2nd. He has this guest on because this guest who has a Instagram, a military, a member, an active member of the military who has a large Instagram following was reached out to by the so-called suicide bomber at the Las Vegas Trump Tower Cybertruck bomb. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So the New Orleans terror attack with the pickup truck, that's a separate issue. Although it happened within the same 24-hour period, which is New Year's Day. The New Orleans happened New Year's Eve around 3 a.m. Sorry, but the Cybertruck explosion in front of the Las Vegas Trump Tower happened during the day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. And so let's focus on that one because when I listen to many analysts about this issue, those who pay attention, the mainstream media will be touting that those two are related, those two incidents are related. But when we listen to alternative media, the independent podcasters out there that has a more, in my opinion, a higher IQ about these kind of things and more reasonable, um, I think many of them are saying that those two incidents or those two attacks has nothing to do with each other. They are totally separate incidences. Anyways, the name of the guest, Sean Ryan's guest, in 2 days ago, which is so this only happened. Okay, this didn't happen on New Year, right after New Year's. 2 days ago was the 4th, January 4th. Sean Ryan has this guest named Sam Shoemate. Sam Shoemate, who is a active duty military. I'm not sure if he's in the Navy. Oh, I think he's in the Army. Sam Shoemate got an email from the suicide bomber, Matt Livelsbergers. So Matt Liverberger, who was the suicide, well, I hesitate to say that because there are theories that he did not die in that Cybertruck because the forensic shows, the FBI forensic shows that it didn't match the DNA of Matt Liversberger's any kin or child, because that's how you discover if the deceased person, especially the deceased person who's burned to death, crisp, charcoal, in the Cybertruck when they're taking the DNA, testing the DNA of um, the the narrative is that it was the bomber Matt Liversberger, but when they tested the body of the person inside the Cybertruck, it didn't match his DNA, and the way they tested it to test the DNA of his child, and it didn't match the DNA of his child. So the first theory that is being um, theorized by especially these two gentlemen at the January 4th episode of Sean Ryan, which is Sean Ryan himself, a former Navy, and Sam Shumate, who is an military, active duty military, who received the email from Matt Liversberger. They both believe that he is probably not the person who is in the truck. Let me clarify. They're saying that first of all, he used a Cybertruck, which is bulletproof, right? And this Matt Liversberger is an upstanding and very. He even has a reality TV show with another very famous Green Beret by the name of Tim something. So this upstanding, everybody was saying, uh, Sean Ryan got some reach out from some active military officers that this guy was an upstanding person. No, a big Trump supporter, number one, and no priors, no any affiliation with any terrorists whatsoever. So here are the two theories that I hear from various podcasters across the board. So from the perspective of Sam Shumate and Sean Ryan, they think that this was a fake suicide. That the so-called suicide bomber Matt Liversberger is not the person who is in the truck, who is in the Cybertruck. And this person, who purportedly was the one who's going to, he owns the truck. Matt Liversberger owned the truck that exploded in front of the Trump Tower, right? He's an upstanding, um, very well respected Green Beret. Very, the competence level of this guy does not match the way the truck was rigged with firecrackers. Basically, not real explosives. The truck was loaded with non lethal explosive, basically firecrackers. And the body that they found inside the truck was already dead before the explosion, meaning even the FBI was saying that the person found inside the truck has a bullet wound in the head. Remember that the Cybertruck is bulletproof. So it's either the guy shot himself, whoever was sitting inside the Cybertruck. This person shot himself in the head before the truck exploded. What's the point of that? Well, the point of that, if it's truly Liversberger who was in the truck and he killed himself, is because he didn't want to feel the pain of the burning fuel. That could be a plausible reason, right? Right. Or the person has already been dead and the person was placed there as a prop. A dead person was placed there to make it believable. Basically, Matt Liversberger was staging his own death, but the body that he put in there was, some person who's already dead. But interesting, a bullet wound in the head. Who shot the guy? Who shot the guy with a bullet wound in the head? Was it one of the terrorists that this Green Beret has taken out and preserved the body so that he can use it as a prop? We don't know. There are so many questions about this particular incident. But the point is, the body that they found inside of the Cybertruck was already dead before the explosion of the Cybertruck. So the body could be Matt Liversberger himself, or it could be a prop, a dead body that's already been dead, used as a prop, sat on the driver's seat, and then the Cybertruck was remotely, because it's a self-driving vehicle. Remember, the Teslas can be programmed to go to a certain destination, and that's another conversation we need to have about this technocracy, about this self-driving vehicles, which I call AI cars. I don't call them electric cars. They're nothing to do with electricity or the power source. It's all everything to do with the proliferation of electric cars, has nothing to do with, well, very little to do with the source of power. Very little to do. Again, it's not environmentally friendly, this car batteries for the electric cars, right? But most to do with the introduction of robotic cars, AI cars, um, cars that gobble up data, because there's millions of these Teslas that's running the streets of the world, and what they are out there for is to gather data, to gobble up data. Again, that's the reason I started with the thought of talking about Alex Jones, which I support dearly. I love dearly Mr. Alex Jones, but I couldn't stand with him, and I couldn't be on board with Alex Jones gushing over Elon Musk. This morning, Alex Jones explained that he is not really 100% on board Elon Musk. What he was saying this morning, in what I saw, uh, him explaining that he is trying to convert Elon Musk and Donald Trump to be part of the freedom movement. That's why he wants to keep engaging with them. I understand what he's saying. And I do not question Alex Jones' motives. I think he has a pure motive. I couldn't get on board his methods of trying to convert an arch technocrat, because what's the old saying? It goes like, you cannot be playing in the mud, something like that, and expect to come out totally clean if you are going to play in the mud. Being aligned or being in the same mud pit as Elon Musk will really smear you. And so I do not question Alex Jones' intention, but I couldn't get on board his methodology of gushing over Elon Musk and almost promoting Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is one of the arch technocrats, and he brought along a huh, a pack of wolves with him, a pack of technocrats with him when they boarded on the Trump train, which is very concerning to me. But we are in that era. We're fighting against technocracy, and apparently, this bummer Matt Liversberger was talking about certain technology. He was because he wrote letters, he wrote emails to many. If you go to Sean Ryan's podcast, it's 4 million views now. You can go there. 2 days ago, January 4th, listen to their conversation. And so going back to the two theories from this gentleman, Sam Shoemate and Sean Ryan, I think they they're not in sync 100%. I can see that there's Sean Ryan has a different kind of mindset or theories with that of Sam Shoemate, and but at the end of the episode, I think they kind of coming closer together on what they think about what's going on here. But both of them came to a conclusion that it has to be questioned if this Matt Liversberger, the so-called Cybertruck car bomber, January 1st, if he was the one who committed suicide, inside the Cybertruck, or he staged his own death and put a dead body in there with a bullet wound in the head already, so that he could stage his death, but do not aim to really create an explosion that kills other people, because apparently the kind for a highly competent military man, a Green Beret such as Matt Liversberger, rigging that Cybertruck with fireworks, non-lethal fireworks. These two gentlemen, Sam Shoemate and Sean Ryan, came to a conclusion or a theory that this Matt Liversberger was not in, intending to use this car as a car bomb, but just to get an attention. Because nobody died, nobody got hurt, right? First of all, number two, the rig that was made to the Cybertruck were all fireworks. A lot of bang, but no bite. Is non-lethal. It creates a lot of attention. It draws a lot of attention to the incident, but it was not lethal except for the person inside the truck, if that was indeed Matt Liversberger, or there was a prop, a dead person already dead inside the truck. And we know that Cybertrucks, Teslas, can be remotely or independently programmed to go to a certain location, right? As long that there's a body in there. That's why I think that's the reason there's a body, because I think these Teslas were also programmed to not go into a full autonomous self-driving unless there's a human sitting in the driver's seat. I think that's one of the programming that Teslas have, as a like sort of like a dead man's brake, right? It cannot be activated to go self-driving unless there's a body. So, but we don't know if it's a dead body will qualify for to meet that demand or meet that programming that the Teslas have. And so I'm gonna assume right now, probably why that's the reason there's a dead body on the driver's seat, dead already before arrival, right? So the conclusion that these two gentlemen's coming up to is that it was a stage suicide. It was not a real suicide. It was a stage car bombing that was not intending to harm anybody, because it was rigged with fireworks instead of real explosives. Again, this guy, Matt Liversberger, who wrote this email and who claims to be the one doing this, is a upstanding and a high level, highly competent Green Beret. So if he's going to rig a truck with explosive and to effectively kill mass casualty, murder, terror attack using a car bomb, or to bring down, just like what the Oklahoma bombing from many years ago, right? That took down half of the building. This Green Beret, more than qualified, has the knowledge to rig a Cybertruck properly so that it could incur a mass casualty bombing situation. But the FBI, in their initial report, they're saying that it was rigged with fireworks. And number two, the person that's sitting in the driver's seat was already dead. So the speculation is, theory number one, that this was a stage suicide and a stage bombing, non-lethal bombing, rigged with fireworks to get attention, not to harm, not to really, not to not to bring down a building, not to kill any innocent bystanders, but to get attention, because the fireworks that was rigged into the Cybertruck will be contained in the Cybertruck. As we know, the Cybertruck was built to be bulletproof, and it wouldn't well, let me look at the video. I think maybe after the truck was already burning down, that's when all the, it looks like the fire from within it can be seen. So the windshields and the windows are already, I don't know if it exploded, if the window shattered because of the explosion or it melted down because of the fire. I don't know. I'm not. I have to listen to the report again, how it happened, what their analysis are. But so far, what I know, again, in the next coming days, we'll know more. But so far, what I know is that the dead body inside the Cybertruck was already dead before explosion, and number two, the Cybertruck is possibly sorry, number two, the explosive rig, the explosive that was rigged into the Cybertruck were mostly fireworks. Fireworks with a lot of smoke and noise, but not enough to kill anybody except for the person that's sitting inside the truck. If that was indeed, if that was indeed a suicide, it only killed one person. That would be Matt Liversberger if he was indeed the person sitting there. But if it was a staged death, so that people will not look for Matt Liversberger anymore, he put a dead body in there with a bullet wound in the head. Well, that's another question. Who killed that guy? Did Matt Liversberger kill a person so that he can use as a prop? Those questions are still on the table, right? Okay, so that's theory number one. The second theory was Matt Liversberger was under duress, because in his letter he was saying that I'm not under duress, I'm not under anybody's influence, which could be a telltale, a telltale to somebody who's actually under duress. So the second theory with what's going on, what happened with the car bomber in Las Vegas is that Matt Liversberger was hijacked have been hijacked of some sort. He could have been, a gun is pointed to his head. In effect, not literally a gun pointed to his head, but maybe a certain loved one or a certain blackmail. Uh, you know, some kind of dirt that somebody dug up on him, and he was used as a pawn. That he was actually killed by a third party or a hidden hand or a someone who wants to create a narrative, used Matt Liversberger as their pawn to create this narrative. Wrote letter in behalf of Liversberger, because when there's a good opinion from Redacted. What's his name again? The host of Redacted, Winston. What's his name? I forgot. I'm sorry, brother. A fellow podcaster, freedom podcaster. But his theory was the letter, the email that he sent to Sam Shoemate, to Sean Ryan, and he was requesting audience from the likes of Joe Rogan and podcasters and even Fox News, right? Because he has a very important message to whistleblow, according to his email. But a good theory by our friend from Redacted, I forgot his name. His theory was the email that was sent by Matt Liversberger to many of these conservative media or podcasters. The content of the email is a talking point for the media talking point to create the narrative that, well, I totally forgot what he says the narrative was. I think it was the uh, the conditioning for the Third World War, some sort. But it is a typical uh, uh, Mockingbird media narrative that is very, very dominant in the email that Matt Liversberger has sent to Sean Ryan, to Sam Shoemate, and other. They were saying also in the episode that if Fox News and other podcasters, if they scrub their emails, they might find the email address as well. That because when you have a big following, sometimes you don't go through all of the emails. You get maybe hundreds, if not thousands, of emails every day, right? So probably Matt Liversberger's email was buried under the pile of junk, mail junk, or just mail, email. They're inundated with tons of emails that it got hidden under the pile. But that's the second theory. The first theory that he faked his death to get the attention of Donald Trump and the world for the message was that can be found therein in his email, right? He was talking about UFO technology, anti-gravitics. He's talking about what's behind the drones that flew in New Jersey over many weeks before the New Year's, and he's trying to prevent the Third World War. He said because he came across information that needs to go out there. Right. So if that is the case, why would he kill himself? This guy has served as a Green Beret for almost 20 years, is what I heard, and he's a few months to retirement. And he has his own reality TV show. There's no reason for this guy to give up on life. Right? So, but it would be good, in the next episode, maybe I'll get some clips from this Sean Ryan podcast that we can weigh in on. But I want you to open your minds, folks. In short, there are two theories, and both of them, in my opinion, are plausible. Both of them are plausible. Both of them are really plausible and a possible explanation of what's going on. I'm not going to weigh in on today at the New Orleans terror attack. That's a whole new jungle of New Hope. That's different, totally different. Although it was a radicalized former military personnel as well who carried out the terrorist attack in New Orleans in New Year's Eve. I don't have enough information about that, so I'm not going to weigh in on that today. In the next coming days, if something pertinent, and if our listeners wants us to deep dive on that. But this is, for now, this is what I want to talk about. I'll go into one last break and then one last segment after the break. I want to talk about the last segment of today's show. Let's talk about the technocracy of Elon Musk and this new algorithm. He says the algorithm of identifying negativity on social media. Man, who gets to decide the definition? Who gets to be the arbiter of negativity?
Consider supporting the OJTV production cost and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production cost and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV
I don't know. Oh, I just realized I was muted for the last few minutes, folks. I didn't know why, but I was muted. Anyways, all right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. We'll see you again tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be back on the morning schedule. Please share, share, share. We'll see you again tomorrow. God bless. I love you all. Have a good day. Bye bye.